What's up, everyone? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
Shredlord.
Jammin.
And we have an album review for you. So on the 17th of April, Black Dahlia Murder is releasing their new album, Verminous, on Metal Blade Records. This is the band's 9th studio album, second one with new lead guitarist Brandon Ellis, who is fucking awesome. These guys are from Detroit, formed in 2001, and pretty much have been a mainstay in both just regular death metal and melodic death metal. They kind of walk that little precarious ledge between the two, and been doing really well for themselves, steadily growing in popularity, and practically to the point where they're like a pop culture reference right now.
Yeah.
So, this album kicks off with the title track, Verminous. First track I heard in this, and solid.
It's a banger.
Opener. I love that little kind of off-time section when it starts going into the verses. Tremendous energy, pretty much everything you expect from Black Dahlia Murder. Heavy but melodic riffs, cool blast beats, energetic.
I'd say this is the most traditional Black Dahlia Murder sound on the album.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
then...
Well, and the end track.
And Godlessly. Godlessly, the next track really pretty much does the same thing. It kind of harks that balance between, like, that Floridian sound, but with, you know, melodic death metal in there. So imagine a band like Monstrosity mixed with At the Gates.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you get this really cool, awesome technical play. Lots of really good guitar harmonies left and right. The guitar work in here is exceptional, but my issue is kind of how it's mixed. I think the guitars are a little bit back.
As a personal note, I could have used them overall more in the forefront, absolutely. However, Brandon Ellis is an absolute fucking gem for this band. I hope they hang on to this dude for a long time. On a personal level, watching his videos with you online, you know, I've really grown to appreciate this guy because he talks about a lot of his early influences as a guitarist and stuff, and they're right up my fucking alley, and I think his playing is incredible. So I hope they keep this dude for a while because he adds something that Black Dahlia hasn't had yet.
Night was awesome, and I think he added a lot to them, but I think there is like a virtuoso quality about Brandon Ellis. You definitely hear it on tracks like The Wereworm's Feast, which opens up kind of like, you know, a track you'd hear on a Marty Friedman album or like a virtuoso player. Nice, good solid background riff, nice little gallop to the drums, but the lead is just coming in right away and sort of carrying this whole intro of the song. And this album definitely changes a little bit. There was stuff that they experimented on with Nightbringers, which was a killer album, and I think they're kind of fully embracing on this album. More melody, more groove.
Definite more melody.
Yeah.
There's the melodies all over this fucking album. You've got a very bright tone, though, to it, which is interesting.
It is interesting. There's like kind of upbeat sections on there where instead of they just going into like those full-on blast beats like they used to do, they kind of embrace like a Carcass-like gallop to it, which gallops are fun.
And Carcass is fun.
Carcass is always fun. The first one where I really started to notice a little bit more of a change to the sound was Removal of the Stake. It's notably more groovy, more about atmosphere, but the classic influences really start coming through, which I think is probably Brandon Ellis's contributions as far as his influences coming into the music. They definitely have maybe some nods to classic heavy metal, definitely some Merciful Fate stuff in there too. And while I'm not a big fan of King Diamond, I like Merciful Fate's music. I think they have an interesting classic appeal.
Don't break the oath of talking shit about King Diamond.
The second single I thought was kind of an interesting one too, Child of Night. This one actually kind of comes with a almost decapitated like polyrhythm to it, which I'm going to probably just go on a little tangent here about Alan Cassidy's drum work.
Yes, holy shit, it's very spot on. He doesn't skip a beat. The drums, the production of the drums is fucking killer. You can hear everything. The kick isn't clicky at all. It's very clear and pronounced.
Punch. The footwork on the title track right away, like that little off-time gallop is awesome. Like it kind of reminded me of like something like Thomas Haka from Meshuggah would do.
Yeah.
But this one actually has some elements that scream more Florida. Like the machine gun guitars come in, it gets a little bit thrashier, kind of sounded more like Deicide and Vader put together, and really doesn't amp up as much as the melody. And that's kind of an interesting thing on here because those songs really stand out. Like this and the last song.
Yeah, the last track's a fucking banger.
The last song, Dawn of the Rats, is pretty much straightforward Black Dahlia Murder in full form in terms of just honing their fucking sound. Like that's 100% them. It sounds kind of like something you hear on Miasma.
Yeah, and I was reminded of that too. It sounded like early Black Dahlia Murder, kind of like the roots of Black Dahlia Murder coming back to play in a little bit, which was cool, especially because the overall sound
was a lot different than that.
It's a lot different. Has changed a bunch too, so it's good to see him going back and being like, and by the way, if you didn't like this, fuck you, because here's something awesome.
It's back, motherfucker.
Yep.
And it's kind of a theme on this album is they're definitely growing as musicians. And, I mean, the core of the band has always been Trevor and Brian. Those guys have been the focal members since its inception. And this is only the second release with this lineup. And I think this lineup might be the most talented. I don't know, possibly.
I don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
Are things. But I really think they're trying to broaden their sound a little bit. I want to say around Everblack, you noticed it was a little bit more melody forward.
Yep.
And then that definitely continued with Nightbringers, even bringing in some classic sounding metal in there.
Yep.
Now I think they fully embraced that. And I don't know, there's a little bit of a disconnect for me being a fan for so long. I pretty much knew exactly what I was going to get with slight variances with Black Dahlia Murder. This one kind of caught me off guard in some spots. I wasn't expecting more mid-tempo songs being... It's kind of 50-50, honestly.
Yeah.
In terms of like the flat-out fast, blast beat-driven songs to the more mid-tempo, groovy songs. And the fact that the melody is really dialed up here, it almost feels like a different band in spots.
One of my personal favorites from the album was Sunless Empire. The riff that's on the verse is pretty simple. Like, the drum beat's even pretty simple. It's really straightforward, but the vocal cadence across that verse is disgusting. And it's definitely a branch out for Trevor, I think.
Trevor's vocal performance is definitely different. You notice that his high screams are lowered just a little bit, and I think that actually makes him a little bit more intelligible.
Yes.
And he's doing more, like there's other ranges he hits. Like there is a kind of a level between his low growl and his scream that he uses on, I forget which track, it might have been Sunless Empire. That it's almost kind of like this mid kind of gurgle to it, and actually kind of adds a creepy atmosphere to it. And there's even like hardcore like shouts on this.
Yep, and I like that too. Not that I'm not a giant Black Dahlia Murder fan. Me personally, Ritual is one of my favorite Black Dahlia Murder albums I think ever. But it's really cool to see, especially like you were talking about the making that even the higher pitched vocals a little bit lower. I think he pronunciates words better. Everything's clearer. I was never a giant fan of the real high-pitched vocals. Anyway,
it would change from album to album.
At times it was cool, but like this is doable. I think it fits more.
Actually, it's just probably my favorite vocal performance.
Yeah, it fits more with the presentation of the album, I think. So.
And he's a hell of a front man. Like, if you ever go see Black Dahlia Murder live, Trevor knows how to engage the crowd. He's fucking hilarious up there. Dude's got heartburn tattooed across his stomach. That's fucking hilarious.
I had heartburn last night.
God, you guys are practically twins. Fuck.
Overall, I think this is a pretty solid album for him. There's definitely the winds of change blowing through for this band. And I like the fact they're embracing some different elements, and the writing is different, maybe a little bit flashier in some regard, maybe a little bit more subdued in others. But overall, I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. I think this is a really good one. As far as their, other releases, I mean, there's still a litany of favorites. These guys have been around for a while. Yep. But this is another solid entry, and this is quite possibly them kind of changing over a little bit. There might be a dawn of a new chapter here.
I also give this 3.5 stars. I dug it. I've jammed this record, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 times now. And the first listen, I remember I just couldn't stop banging my head, which was a good sign. As I picked it apart a little bit more, I realized there were some things I liked and some things that I wasn't real sure of. And I think it's the things I'm not real sure of that keep it at 3.5 instead of 4. It's pretty fucking solid though, man. I never have a real complaint about Black Dahlia Murder albums ever.
I thought long and hard about this. More hard than long, but.
It may not be very big around, but it sure is short.
It's like a pencil eraser.
He may be tiny, but he's ferocious. So while thinking hard and long, I decided to keep it at 3.5. I was teetering between 3.5 and 4. I really enjoyed this album. I really enjoyed the addition of Brandon Ellis as a guitar player in this band due to his excellent musicianship, phrasing, and sense of melody. the only complaints I had is some of the songs did not necessarily grab me as much as others on past Black Dahlia Murder albums, and I felt like the guitars were not as aggressive as I would have liked to hear them. So for those reasons, I'll say 3.5. However, it's still a solid fucking album. It's still a solid fucking lineup, and I'm really excited to hear what kind of comes next after this.
Yeah, for sure.
Live shows, hopefully.
Yes, live shows. We all want live shows.
What are those?
Things that happened way back in the day before the corona.
Right, things
Sit
that
down
happened,
on my knee.
Yep, pre-corona.
No. So, if you guys like the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe. Because we do shit like this all the time. Make sure to check us out on Instagram, too.
We have an Instagram page.
We have a presence now on,
we have a presence.
on the world of Graham. Is that what you kids call it?
I don't know.
Instacart? Isn't that what it's called?
Yes.
Okay.
Instaguard?
Instaguard.
I know it's not Pornhub, so I'm not interested.
What's the difference between Pornhub and Pornhub?
Premium, you get longer videos.
And high definition. I Googled it.
Yep. Me too. I definitely Googled it.
Everyone's like, oh, did you know Pornhub or whatever, deluxe, whatever is free? And I'm like, okay, well, what's the difference?
More shame?
I don't know.
There's more shame.
Okay.
Yep, it's high def videos. Yep.
You cry harder after you masturbate? I don't know.
And you also lose money. Yay.
Yeah.
Make it rain.
Catch you guys later.
Take care.
Baby gravy!